Video 92, The Pope's Ancient Past Lives, explained exclusively by the ancient spirit tralaka flowing through here in spirit. 7 lives he lived on one of those 2 planets that used to be past Pluto. As I say, it used to be there, in which tralaka has explained exclusively in earlier videos, at which now is but this huge, massive, gigantic wasteland of chewed up planet and moon parts strewn all around. In those lives, he was 8 feet tall and a reptilian humanoid, though in this life his tail would have been approximately 3 feet long, with ridges on the top side of it that were almost 4.5 inches high, of scale that were extremely razor sharp. He also would have had, his face would have been about 1/3 bigger than a human face, and more detailing of sharp features. In those lives, he was primarily a military cook in those lives, and a few he was a team builder instructor, in which he would lay very strict rules, and he was known for this. And also, even he was punishing his students when they were not top of the class. He was very strict, but he had a very high passing level of students that survived. The 4 species who fought, who controlled and lived on those planets and moons, had no love for each other. It was a very, very vicious environment. The tall, pin-headed ones with that high super science, the reptilian humanoids with the military power and speed, and a misled but very strong division of draconian dragons that had a very suspicious connections with some of the other planets in Earth systems of planets. And there was a very large presence of snake humanoids who primarily lived on the moons accompanied to these 2 planets. This was a very, very bloody, multiple caste systems of civilization. War and warring and warmongering against each other's species was a consistent, it was a constant, it was always happening manner for any versions of those different species they're always going against each other. Vicious. The blood would never stop flowing. He also, though, later had 6 lives within that massive Orion systems of planets. His planetary system he had those experiences on was called Benedict, which in the native tongue meant poison trails. He was 9 feet tall and was a snake humanoid. From the back of his forehead to the back of his head was 3 rows of 3-inch tall, very rigid, very sharp, and thick scales, which made for great defense in headbutting an enemy. He also had a very dark color green scales, no tail in these particular lives, but very powerful humanoid arms and legs that really rippled with power. His head was longer in the front, showing off a very sharp contrast features of his face, and a double row, when he smiled, of pointed teeth. While the front row was pointed, the back row was more flatter, as well as a larger nose, which could sense newcomers. It is said that he could sense newcomers from almost 3 miles away. The claws on his feet were just under 4 inches long and nearly 1 inch thick, which kept the razor-sharp ends. In those 6 lives he was in, 1 life as a farmer, 3 lives as a pioneer, and 2 lives, once again, as a transit team boss. He seems to like that. For the cargo ships coming and going within his regional town, he lived. My friends, journey far, understand there is so much more to learn, there's so much more to remember, there is so much more that you can become. that you were not told about since you were a kid. As always, my friends, good night.